investigations from these files of Lieutenant Kenda. First, teenager suddenly vanishes.
CJ?
Mysterious folk hold the key to her disappearance.
Around 16 years old, dark brown hair.
Person claimed to be her brother, but she's not a brother.
Then,
Walk away from me.
neighbors step into messy dispute
Do you realize there's a dog poop all over your yard?
that spirals into all-out war.
I had to do it. I was he was going to kill me.
Coming in!
Is this a young mother picking her child or irate neighbor finding out of reach? I don't understand humans, but they interest me. Human behavior, very difficult to predict. I gave up on that a very long time ago. There's one thing that never changes. Murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories. I never know where a case is going to lead, but I'll never stop until it's solved. Somebody has to look up for the victim. If you kill, I will find you.
It's a school day, but Diane Hudson's 15-year-old daughter, CJ, is sick at home.
CJ, home! I have your medicine. I'll bring it to you.
Diane Hudson went to the pharmacy to give her daughter the medication that she needed because CJ was suffering from strep throat.
CJ? CJ, honey? CJ? CJ? CJ!
She goes back to her daughter's bedroom. She's not there.
Honey, where are you?
Meanwhile, Lieutenant Joe Kenda is doing his best to see way through another hectic workday.
I'll just give you a report number. Should have been on 34 calls to Kenda. Over Kenda. I ran that place.
My office is often described as the Tower of Babel. The phones are ringing, the radios are going off.
10-4. Did you check with the neighbors?
I'm having 6 different conversations with people in front of me and a conversation on the phone.
Hey, Kenda. Yes, Detective Ritz. I just got off the phone with a woman who thinks her 15-year-old daughter's been kidnapped. Seems pretty upset. Says the daughter's really sick. Wouldn't have left the house on her own. All right, let's check it out. If anything else, it allows me to get away from this mountain of paperwork. Thank you.
Even though it's not a homicide, the nature of the call requires Kenda's major crimes.
Ritz. She is convinced her daughter has been forcibly removed from her home. We are involved in all serious criminal activity, and kidnapping eminently qualifies.
Thank you for coming. I just had this feeling in my gut that something is really wrong.
Detective Ritz mentioned that your daughter's ill.
Yes, CJ. Her name's Claudia Jane, and she just goes by CJ.
CJ Bates was your typical 15-year-old. She had lots of friends. She participated in school activities. She went to football games.
She wasn't feeling well, so we went to the doctor, and they gave her a prescription for strep throat.
Diana explains she took her home and then got the prescription filled. When she gets home, that's when she finds she's missing.
When I couldn't find her, I went to go use the phone, and that's when I heard that weird answering machine message.
Hello, Mrs. Bates. This is Principal McLean from TJ's school. We received a phone call this morning that I thought you should know about.
She was informed that someone had called the school saying that they were going to come by and pick up CJ because of family emergency.
Right away, if you hear that and you knew there was no family emergency, you'd be racking your brain thinking, who have made this call?
So, at your earliest convenience, please give me a call back here at the school. And, we will talk to you soon. Hey.
Have you ever made that call?
No. That's what worries me.
Kenda thinks the caller must be the one who took CJ home. However, a crucial question remains. Did he kidnap her? Or was he helping her run away?
We're going to talk to the principal about all this. First, I need to ask you a few questions about CJ. Is that okay?
Okay.
How was your relationship with CJ? Does she have any problems with the family?
No, everything's fine.
Did CJ have a boyfriend or anything like that?
No, she has some guy friends, but nothing serious or anything.
She tells us she doesn't have a boyfriend that I know of, but she goes to school. She does well in school.
Honestly, she's just a good girl. I know she didn't run away.
concerns me that this might be for real. This kid is sick. Strep throat is a serious illness. She's not going to be in any condition to willfully want to run away. She will go to bed.
We take these things very seriously. So if you hear anything or think of anything, make sure you give us a call.
Thank you.
I'll let it know.
At this particular point, we have smoke, but no visible flame. I need to see.
Principal McLean? Yes.
About this mysterious phone call where someone is claiming to be a family member.
The caller sounded young, a teenager, and there was noise in the background as if he were on a payphone. It wasn't too long after I messaged for CJ's mom that he showed up. He showed up here at the school? Yeah, but I didn't let him linger too long.
This is getting curiouser by the moment.
Hey man, where's CJ at? Told you I'll be out here.
CJ's here. Who exactly are you anyway?
The principal says it's a 16-year-old boy with long hair, rather slender, who claims to be CJ's brother.
If that were the kid, you know that CJ's home safe. And why don't you beat it before I call the police? Have you ever seen him before? Does he go to school here? Well, I know I've never seen him before, so there's no way he could have.
And you don't know if CJ knows him?
I don't. But I do know someone that might.
The principal says that CJ is very good friends with a Kathy Wyatt, who is student there, and directs to speak with her.
I can information for you if you like. That'd be great. That's fine.
With school for the day, Kenda and Reds make a line for Kathy's home.
Kathy? Come on, please. These men are with the police department. They'd like to ask you a few questions.
We'd like to talk to your friend CJ.
CJ, is she all right?
We hope so.
We tell her that CJ has apparently disappeared. We're concerned her she's been taken away by force.
I knew she wasn't at school today, but I thought that was because she's sick.
Okay, tell me about her.
Kathy explains that she and CJ are best friends. They spend a lot of time together on weekends, and they see each other every day at school.
Do you know if CJ was seeing anybody?
You mean like a boyfriend?
Yeah.
Well, not really. But there's this one guy, Homer, says she's been talking to since the beginning of the school year.
But then Kathy tells police that Paul seemed to be more interested in CJ than CJ was interested in Paul.
So this Paul guy, you know how old he is? What's he look like?
He's 16, skinny guy with brown hair.
This really piques our interest. The principal described roughly the same individual.
And they had a lot of time together?
CJ told me that Paul was wanting to take her on a trip to Florida or something like that where his grandparents live.
At headquarters, Kenda and Reds prepare to visit the home of Paul Norris.
Hey, I got an address on Paul. Do you want to go check it out?
Sure, maybe get lucky. Both kids will be.
Hey, Lieutenant. A Kansas State trooper on the line. You might want to take.
Why's that?
I think it involves that girl you're looking for.
What line?
Line 2.
Lieutenant Kenda, how can I help you?
Hospital in Waukee, Kansas, and he has a deceased child on his hands, whose name is Claudia Jane Bates. Has my case gone from a missing person to a homicide? We're investigating the disappearance of a 15-year-old female, and then we get a phone call that CJ Bates is dead in Waukee, Kansas.
Hey, Lieutenant Kendra, this is Poland from the Kansas Police. We have a deceased woman here from Colorado Springs.
Can you tell me what happened?
It's a pretty horrific accident.
She was in a pickup truck with 2 other individuals. One,
Donald Martin and Paul Norris, they both survived. They're currently at the hospital.
We know who was driving?
At this point, we don't.
all occupants were ejected from the truck.
Trooper Poland tells Kenda that when he arrived on scene, he found the truck upended on the side of the road.
Damn.
Yeah, brother, it's pretty bad. Poor old, she got the worst of it.
This is one vehicle involved. No other vehicle were involved.
appeared the accident began 50 feet away, when for some unknown reason, the pickup veered the highway and hit a mile marker.
The vehicle then swerved to the left, often referred to as overcorrection by the driver. Panic when you hit something, you jerk the wheel to the left. The truck careened across the two lanes. He says the truck rolled at least 3 times. This causes the doors to open and passengers become thrown from the car.
Not sure if the accident was mechanical or driver error.
We're looking into that right now, but I did find something interesting.
And the prescription medication is for muscle relaxants. It's often prescribed for people with back pain. But are they prescription for an occupant of this vehicle? Muscle relaxants don't have anything to do with drug. So I doubt they belong to Miss Bates.
Listen, I'm investigating a possible runaway situation here that involves several years of your accident.
We explained to him that Paul Norris and his deceased girl had some kind of relationship.
I know you're going to be speaking to the survivors for your own purposes. If you give me a call back and let me know what they say, they could possibly help us out here with our investigation.
Okay, I'll call you back later and tell you what I found out.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
The burning question is, did she go with him willingly or not?
Mr. Norris, I'm glad you're okay. I heard you've been informed on what happened.
Tells him that this was a planned trip to Florida. He, C.J. Bates, and Mr. Martin were going to Florida to see someone.
Got some relatives down there, so we figured it'd be fun to hang out. You know, beach and stuff.
Did you mess up?
No.
So, CJ went with you willingly, you didn't force her or anything?
Of course she won't go. She's my girlfriend.
Okay.
Norris vehemently denies that. Said that C.J. Bates willingly came with him.
What about the accident? Was anybody doing drugs or?
No, nothing like that. Think I fell asleep behind the wheel. Driving all day, next thing I remember, we hit a sign or something. After that, it's a blur.
Next, Truppelin speaks with the other occupant of the truck, Donald Martin, and hears a similar story.
So this was a trip that you guys had planned?
Yes, sir. We all just got in the we were planning to go to Florida.
Do you know about what time the accident was?
It was probably about 9-ish.
9 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
Was anybody drinking in the car or anything?
Yes, sir.
It's Kenda.
Olin calls back to report that Mr. Martin says that C.J. willingly went well, just like Mr. Norris says.
We don't have any reason to hold him right now, so.
He'll be out of the hospital before long, and we're going to release him to parents at that time.
Our investigation will continue, but we're kind of leaning back towards the fact that maybe this was just a planned runaway situation.
Something just doesn't feel right.
How so?
I mean, they claim they weren't doing drugs. But what about those pills in the glove compartment?
Yeah. We really need to talk to them about that when they get back.
Lieutenant, C.J. Bates' mother's here to see you. She's waiting in your office.
I'll be right there.
Hello.
You gonna break the news?
Fredo.
You're about to tell a mother the news that no mother ever wants to hear. That her worst fear is real life. And they know by the look on your face that this is going to be bad news.
I'm sorry to have to inform you that CJ is no longer alive.
I will then wait for the grief reaction and deal with that for however long it takes.
It can't be.
As a parent, you are dealing with the fact that you think they were kidnapped, and that in itself is a horrible thing, but then here they were killed in a car accident?
What happened?
We inform her of the traffic accident in Kansas, that we don't know for certain how these two boys came to be with her daughter.
Both the boys arrived, and they had a trooper in Kansas speak with them.
Who are the boys?
It's Paul Norris and Donald Martin. Are you familiar with either one?
Not the second one, but Paul. Yeah.
She says she has never heard her daughter say that Norris was her friend.
Well, about that, they were on their way to Florida to hang out at the beach, but both Paul and Donald independently said that all three had planned it, and that CJ wanted to go.
They're lying.
Now, I assure you, we intend to question them and look into it.
Look. This is hers. This is her purse. This is her jacket. She would have never left home without this.
Mrs. Hudson says those are her favorite things She would never go anywhere without them.
And I think as a parent, you know your child so well, and if you see things left behind that they always take with them, you would know that, wait a minute, this isn't normal behavior.
I'm telling you, there's something wrong here.
My first thought was, Mrs. Hudson, you have some points here. This is willful. This is criminal. And somebody's paid a price for a dead 15-year-old girl. No longer believe that C.J. Bates or Vic willfully went with Mr. Martin and Mr. Norris. I need to get to the bottom of this.
3 days after the tragic auto accident, Paul Norris and Donald Martin are released to parents in Colorado Springs.
Make arrangements to interview Paul. But that interview does not go well.
Are you Paul?
Yeah. My son doesn't have anything to say this time.
His father denied an interview and said that his son will exercise his right to remain silent.
You're gonna have to speak with our lawyer.
So Kenda sets his sights on the other occupant of the truck, Donald Martin.
Donald, get out.
Being underage, when police go to interview Donald, his mother is there as well.
Mr. Martin has been injured in a motor vehicle accident. He's got a broken ankle. He's got bruises all over him. He looks awful.
I assume you know why we're here?
Did what happened in Kansas, the girl CJ?
Right. Well, we took a poll and what was your account of the events? Are you still sticking with that story? Because personally, we're not buying it.
Young man, tell them the truth.
Okay. So what happened?
He tells him he had gone with Paul to pick up CJ at school and were turned away. So Paul then drove him over to CJ's house.
I'll be back in a minute.
CJ. Bond sat in the truck. He thought he was just picking up CJ. But the next thing he knows is
Paul, please.
Paul has brought CJ out of the house in a bear hug.
No, I don't want to go. Ow! Paul, wait.
She is kicking with her legs, and he shoves into the truck Donald Martin.
I don't want to go. Ow!
What were you thinking while this happened?
I didn't know what to think. Paul didn't tell me anything. And he just kept fighting to get away.
Let me go, please.
And then all of a sudden he just took off car. It was insane. They were just screaming at each other. I didn't know what to do.
Donald says that much to relief, CJ eventually calmed down.
I swear you're gonna have fun, CJ. When you get to my grandparents, you're gonna love it.
Because she's feeling so terrible, she pretty much just goes along with it.
Donald, the trooper said that they found some pills in the truck, some muscle relaxers. Who did those belong to?
We found them in the glove compartment. Paul didn't know anything about them. I guess it just belonged to whoever he got the truck from.
Hey man, what are those?
I don't know, I just found them.
But not knowing what they were was no roadblock for Paul.
Dude. Crazy.
Donald advises that Paul took the pill not knowing what it was or would possibly do to him. He believes that the pill made him very scared.
Within 30 minutes of taking these pills, Paul falls asleep.
He is convinced Donald is telling the truth, but he's still hard proof to corroborate it and charge Paul.
You mentioned this Jay bit you at some point?
Oh yeah, and hard. I still have the marks to prove it. Paul has them too.
Shows us the bite mark, and it's visible. Obviously, human bite mark. And he says that Paul has them as well. Even if you've invoked your right to remain silent, we can still obtain a non-testimonial court order for identification to cover photographs of any injuries we believe to be on your body.
face me.
We take Paul to a hospital. We have him stripped to the waist. And there are human bite marks on his shoulder. So this further supports Martin's story. What he's saying is true.
Lieutenant, I think we got what we need.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. We'll be in touch.
Cause to believe this is kidnapping. So we arrest him and put him in juvenile detention.
In May 1994, Paul Norris pleads guilty to criminally negligent homicide.
Paul is sentenced to 3 years as a result, which sounds a little weak, but that's what he gets.
What ultimately drove this kid is the adolescent mind. There is no consideration of consequence. They live life in the moment. I have no control. My emotions are in command, which is what makes kids so dangerous.
Coming up, a neighborly dispute ends in the worst possible way.
These are neighbors getting into a heated argument that result in gunfire.
It's a quiet afternoon throughout Colorado Springs, with one exception.
Hello, ma'am. Who is that in the background that I hear? What's going on, ma'am?
And right down the dispatcher here is in the background.
Ma'am. Hello, ma'am. Are you there? Ma'am, are you okay? What's going on? What happened? Hello? Hello, are you there? Ma'am, is everyone okay?
A short time later, Lieutenant Kenda finds himself in a middle-class housing development on the east side.
This is a typical neighborhood of a single-family house. Not the kind of neighborhood you anticipate the existence of violence.
Lieutenant, how you doing? That's what we got. Oh, we've got a 42-year-old male named Elton Landrum. He was shot in the back, neck, and the shoulder. He was taken to the hospital. He's in critical condition. Where you live? No, sir. Where's he live? He lives over here.
I'm informed he resides 2 houses away from where he's found. The residence of the home where the shooting took place is 63-year-old Alice Sean, her 21-year-old daughter, Ina, and also a child.
Women were pretty upset, but we managed to get some pertinent information from them.
Both Alice and Gina report that Landrum came to their house, confronted them, tried to break in. Gina's statement to one officer was, "I had to do it. He was going to kill us all."
We've taken her down to the stage for further questioning. Your first thought is, well, is this a self-defense case? That's where we need to start looking. I said, what?
Why is he so angry? Why is he at her home?
And this is where we found the victim first arrived on scene.
We have to examine a scene to see what the evidence has to say about the nature of the dispute between Landrum and the Khan family. There's a blood stain in the front yard. It's 6 or 8 feet from the front porch. So the assumption is this confrontation likely took place at the...
Be careful where you walk up here. This is all just lovely.
Dog feces have been deposited, stepped on, and seared on this porch here. And there's no explanation as to why they would be there in such concentration. Is it part of this? Well, maybe it is.
Well, that's a quite a beginning.
There's an aluminum storm door attached to the house, and bottom portion of the door had lots of dents in it, but it looked like somebody had been kicking.
Given the circumstances, it's relatively clear that that somebody is none other than Elvin Landrum.
That's strange. The mirror was intact. It must have been open when she shot him.
Is it possible that Elvin Landrum forced his way through the storm door, opens the unlocked front door, and is greeted by gunfire because Gina's waiting on the other side?
You think you're so damn smart? Damn it, good on you. You're gonna beat your ass. I talked you. I know you did. I'm gonna kick your papa's ass and I'm gonna kick your chest too.
Mama, are you okay?
Yeah, baby.
In order to gather more information, Kenda has officers canvass the neighborhood.
So you're not surprised this happened?
I knew there was friction between the two families, but I had no idea what would lead to poor Elvin being shot.
One of the officers comes forward with Gretchen Fitzgerald. He knows both families, has some knowledge of what's going on.
Gretchen says it all started with 2 boys and a football.
Come on, Weston. sick of them boys playing out here.
According to neighbors, Elvin's kids were constantly playing in the street.
But then, the football hits Alice Couchon's car.
So sick of that foot. I don't you come in my yard. I told y'all there with that ball in my yard. Hit my car.
Please?
So sick of y'all.
We're just getting the ball.
I don't care. You ain't getting it back. Tell your daddy come get it.
Please?
Mrs. Gerald reports that Alice Couchon takes the football out of her yard, tells these kids she's not going to give it back, and they should get out of there and leave her alone.
A short time later, Ms. Fitzgerald sees Elvin Landrum confront Alice Couchon about the ball.
You have no right to take my son's property.
Look, now those children of yours need to learn a lesson. If you ain't gonna teach them no discipline, then I will.
Oh, no. I'm their father.
Listen.
No, I know you
that
listen to me.
ball is in the house and they're not getting it.
You go get in the house and get that thing back right now.
I'm not getting nothing.
But don't walk over me.
And I'd hear and see in the hallway was pretty intense.
I can't see a foam football as being a motive.
Well, thank you, ma'am. You've been very helpful.
Hoping to discover additional information, Kenda returns to Algina's home.
So where's the gun?
It's in this bedroom right above us right here.
Upstairs. That's weird.
So up the stairs we all go.
This is exactly where we found it.
Yes, sir.
And laying on the ironing board is a plastic-gripped revolver. So if she shot him while he's entering the foyer, why is the gun up here? As I'm scanning this room, I notice that the window is pushed all the way up and it's open. Not a big deal, but I notice the window screen is pushed up and away from the house. That's very unusual.
That certainly is interesting.
What's that?
Bullet holes.
Now we know what gun is up here, because it was used from up here, not from downstairs. We've now determined that Gina Couchon shot her neighbor, Landrum, from the second floor bedroom window. How could this be self-defense if you're shooting at someone when you're on the second floor?
And that's not the only question on investigators' minds.
Now, at this point in the investigation, you have to figure out, well, why was Elvin Landrum even there that night?
Kenda arrives at Memorial Hospital to speak with Elvin Landrum about what happened.
Excuse me, Doctor. I'm here to talk to Elvin Landrum.
I'm sorry, Lieutenant, but Mr. Landrum's not going to be able to help.
Why is that?
I'm informed that Mr. Landrum's in grave condition, unconscious, unable to respond. Doctors are very concerned about his survival.
Thank you. Sure.
So Kenda turns to Elvin's wife, Diane, for answers.
Mrs. Landrum? I'm Lieutenant Kenda with the CSPD. I'm very sorry happened to your husband. Do you mind if I talk to you for a minute?
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about Elvin?
We've been together about 6 years. He's such a wonderful man. He's a great dad, husband.
Elvin's wife was a loving father, a good husband. He had worked at Fort Carson. He had never had any problems with anybody before.
Can you tell me what happened with the neighbors?
Together. When the doorbell rang, and I remember Nick was outside when I opened the door.
Hey, Nick. Hey, Diane. How's it going today?
Good. What's up?
Hey, I was out walking my dog, and somebody's thrown dog poop and garbage all in your front yard.
So I now know something I didn't know before, that the Couchon porch had dog feces covering it. And it's also covering Elvin Landrum's front yard. And that's not a coincidence.
Hey, what's going on? Hey, Elvin, somebody really trashed your front yard. Son of a bitch!
But why would Elvin rush over to Des and Gina's house?
I don't know. It don't make any sense.
You're thinking, what would Kim think that they were responsible for this? The Couchons didn't own a dog.
Let you know if we find out anything. Thank you.
in trouble for this? I'm so sorry. It was self-defense.
You take a breath. Go through what happened.
It all started yesterday when my mother took this football from Elvin's kids after it hit her car.
Gina says what we already know, that her mother being angry about that, came outside, picked the ball, and she refused to give it to them.
She was going to give the ball back, but just wanted to teach the lesson, you know? And then Elvin shook, and I think kind of got into it.
Elvin must have been fuming, because later he collected dog feces from his yard and dumped it on her property.
Then later on the day, I came out to take the trash out, and I smelled something awful. And I looked down, and I saw a bunch of dog crap just scattered all over the porch.
She knew right then that because of troubles that had been on between Elvin and her mother, that Elvin probably put the species on her front porch.
And I was so pissed off when I realized he did that. I thought, okay, two could play this game.
She grabbed the shovel. And took it over to Elvin's house and scattered it around his frame. She also got a bag of garbage and threw it open and all spread that around his frame. And she then dirty diapers that is for her son and emptied that into Elvin's frame.
Yeah, I know it was stupid and obvious. I regret it now. But as far as I'm concerned, it's over. Elvin came to the house.
Come on here.
Yeah.
Get out here.
Elvin, get off my face.
I'm up there and kick your ass.
She goes and sees William Landrum in a wild rage, kicking on the door.
I'm kidding.
Elvin, get my property. I'm banging my door.
Attacks on the door increase.
Don't you kick my door. Jim, Mom, okay?
She's pretty hurt at this point, so she grabbed him, thinking that she'd have to use this for self-defense.
Call 911.
Come on down here. I'm gonna kick your ass, and then I'm gonna kick your mother's ass too.
She says her mother got on the phone called 911.
I'm telling you, get somebody here. He gonna kill us.
Yeah.
She didn't feel that she could wait, so she decided that she could stop the threat.
Come on out here.
I was terrified, thinking about Mother and my baby.
She just opened that window skin, pulls that gun, and starts pulling her.
Kick your...
Oh, look. If he got in the house, it could have been us.
Gina is trying to protect her child, her elderly leader. When someone's being on your door, just thinking, I have to make sure that, like myself and my family.
9 days after he was shot, Landrum succumbs to his injuries. With his death, Gina is charged with murder, and the case goes to trial.
Ultimately, the jury concluded that this was, in fact, a self-defense case, and Gina was not guilty of the second murder.
2 murder investigations from the case files of Lieutenant Joe Kenda. First, a crazy gunman wages war on a quiet suburb.
I'm gonna kill somebody! I had no idea I'd be going to an active shooting situation.
And the police must risk it all to put an end to the threat.
I felt like he was trying to kill me.
This situation is escalating out of control.
Then, when a young man reports the murder of his father,
It's a brutal crime.
Kenda is left with a nagging suspicion.
How do you know there's a body here to be found? There ain't a policeman in the world who wants to shoot anybody. On occasion, you are faced with the ultimate test to take a human life, something no one wants to do, but sometimes they must. There's one thing that never changes: murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories. I never know where a case is going to lead, but I'll never stop until it's solved. Somebody has to look out for the victim. If you kill, I will find you.
It's a sweltering summer afternoon, and contractors Greg Sweetman and Rod Boxer are looking forward to lunch.
Hey, you want to get something to eat that place on Union?
We heard a couple of pops, and I said, "That sounds like firecrackers."
No. 4th of July was weeks ago. Damn. That's gunfire.
When you hear 6 in a row like that, it was pretty definite that it was gunfire, especially since it was only a few hundred yards away.
You stay here, I'm gonna check it out.
It was curiosity. I'm creeping along and noticed on my left a gentleman dressed all in black. And I thought immediately, something's not correct here.
You all finish it and all back to your homes. Hey, man, it's cool. Before things start to get ugly.
And he has his gun pointed at me like this. And I thought, I'm going to get shot. He was scary, frightening, but he didn't shoot. I feel very fortunate. I survived that day, and I'm alive today, 24 years later. I told my grandkids, that if I'd been shot that day, they wouldn't be here.
But not everyone was so lucky that day. Just minutes later, at the Colorado Springs Police Department.
Sorry, folks. We'll get back to the music in just a second.
Lieutenant, you're the files you want to know. Great, thanks.
From the Colorado
You know, I was
Springs
reading
Police,
about that, though.
There are reports of a man randomly shooting a gun in the 2300 block of Robin Drive. Police want everyone to stay clear of the area.
It was extremely rare that we first were made aware by a commercial radio broadcast.
This must be a full and fast if they haven't notified major crime. I haven't read from dispatch yet.
But at the moment, they were focused on getting first responders to the scene and protecting the public.
Again, this is just coming in.
The tactical enforcement unit is notified to take control of that scene and to try to neutralize any threat that may be there.
What do you want to do? Odds are people get shot. Homicide should be there.
So I said, let's physically go there and stand by.
Let's go. Again, this is just coming in. There are reports of a man randomly shooting a gun. 2300 block of Robin Drive. Police want everyone to stay clear of the area.
Meanwhile, dispatchers work feverishly to alert nearby residents.
This man is armed. You need to remain inside your house and away from all windows.
Do not do that. The police can handle this.
David 12, David 14, 1081, 2300 Robin Road.
Is the young family in there? Thank you for that information.
Neighbors inform police the gunman is 32-year-old Rusty Joslin, who lives on the block with his wife and 2 young children.
Neighbors reported Rusty Joslin worked a steady job as a dump truck driver, well known in the neighborhood, and seemed like a pretty nice guy.
One woman said she remembered the husband dropping the kids off at school that day, and another neighbor remembered that the wife left for work. So we at least know that he's probably in this house alone.
Ready? At the scene of the tense standoff, police are joined by the press, including KKTV news reporter Ann Urban.
We heard that there was a shooter, and
Joe!
Hi, Ann.
I've known Ann Urban for years. You can count on her to provide a fair and accurate story of what's going on.
What's going on?
Not yet. The situation's still volatile. We're actually heading over to the command post to get briefed ourselves. I think he still shoots, so make sure you stay clear.
Joe said, stay there. He's still shooting. When I can, if I can, I'll give you information.
Jared.
At the command post, Lieutenant Kenda is brought up to speed by his tactical unit commander, Lieutenant Larry Kastner.
Hey, Lieutenant. Hey, sir. So what do we got?
He's held up in the house for now. He's not talking, but he's not shooting.
So what happened when patrol arrived?
J.C. Scott was our first guy here. He tried to communicate with him, but no luck.
Hey, my friend. What's going on? Can I help you?
I don't need your help.
The officer tries to calm him down.
What's that, friend?
The devil doesn't need anybody's help.
He announces he's the devil. Obviously, this individual's disturbed.
Okay, what can I do for you?
I'm gonna kill somebody.
And then he raises his hand and exposes this handgun, holding it in his palm.
All right, just take it easy,
Better
okay?
call for backup.
Not pointing it at the officer, but showing the officer that he's capable of killing someone.
I'll do exactly what you said, okay?
Now.
He wanted more officers there. We don't know if that was because he wanted more targets or just to get attention.
At that point, Officer Scott backed down the street to cordon off the intersection there. At that time, Rusty went back into his house.
I need some additional units to the 2300 block of Robin
Scott
Drive.
calls for backup and sees the suspect come back outside. This time he has a long gun.
2300 block of Robin Drive.
I'm under fire.
I need additional units now.
Officer Scott wasn't hit, but when the other officers arrived on scene, Rusty had already gone back into the house, so they weren't confronted with him when they arrived.
So that's kind of where we're at. The last 30 minutes or so, he's been in there. We can see him pacing back and forth in front of the windows.
All your guys in position in case he comes out shooting again?
Oh yeah, we're ready for him.
We're not going to wait with a guy who's blasting away at anybody that moves. We're going to take what action is necessary to stop him, and that may be deadly force. We have a crazed gunman in a house in a residential neighborhood. We're trying to figure out our next move before he comes out shooting.
Has anyone made contact with him inside the house?
We've tried, but no luck.
What do you need from me?
It's the middle of the afternoon. Find out why this guy's not at work.
Will do.
As detectives try to track down his wife, Ritz heads to Rusty's job site.
From what we're able to gather, Rusty Jocelyn did start his morning off as normal. He got up, went to work.
He was strange. I mean, he was here physically, but his mind was somewhere else.
What are you doing? I said don't put it there.
Hey, Rusty, whoa, what the hell, man?
It's him. This whole damn world sucks.
Today, Rusty looked at him and said, "I'm so mad I could rip somebody's head off." He's never seen any behavior like that before. The manager was so alarmed by his appearance
Stupid.
that he offered him a ride home.
He insisted he could drive himself home, so he left. Sure as hell didn't think anything would end up like this. Well, I appreciate it, all right?
Back at the scene, the standoff continues.
Story. Police have not yet
Reporter Ann Urban keeps the public abreast of the latest developments.
continuing to work that side of the story.
One of the really perplexing things about this is what was going through Rusty's mind. We knew that he had 2 kids. And
You're just going, please let this turn out well.
Police are preparing for the worst-case scenario with the deployment of a sniper.
These officers go through a series of extensive testing.
You ready, Anderson?
Yes, sir. Psychological, physical, everything.
They might cover it.
They know there was always that potential to be required to use deadly physical force.
Jimmy Anderson was designated at that time to be the sniper and was told, get yourself in a position where you can cover the movements of Rusty Josman while we try to negotiate.
As Anderson advances, other officers move into defensive position outside Rusty's house.
This tree's not going to cover us.
I was in the field training first arrived. We went behind a tree near the house.
But before they can move to a more secure location,
Put your hands up!
I cannot imagine being brave enough as a police officer to step out with somebody who has a gun and say,
Get your hands up! I said get your hands up!
I don't care what a good shot you are.
Go, 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 go.
You are now the number one target.
And that's the thing that I was aware of that we were shot at. There was a shed directly across from his front door. We were kind of peeking up over the shed as much as we could.
but the flimsy tin shed is no match for a high-powered rifle.
The suspect missed the shield's head by about half an inch. This situation is escalating out of control.
What do we do? Go, go, go.
So far, Jocelyn has not hit anyone with his gunfire. We hope that continues to be the case.
Shields and Arvin make it to safety behind the house across the street, where they join Sniper Jimmy Anderson.
Anderson, you guys okay? Yeah. You trying to find a way in? Yeah, there's a second floor window with a direct line of sight to the shooter's porch. All right, let's go.
We were told that there was nobody inside the residence.
Door.
These are exigent circumstances. No warrants are required. We're not going to agonize about property rights. We're going to enter that house.
Shields, get the window. Got it.
Shields assists the sniper so he can establish a shooting position.
Hold that one, Shields. Yep. I got the radio for you.
Roger. He is 160 feet or so away from the front door of the suspect home. When a person who has been shooting at the police, who is not responding to anything, just continues shooting, then we're going to put a stop to this. If he comes out of that house with a weapon in his hand, what are we going to do? Well, I know what we're going to do. This situation has gone from bad to worse. Obviously, this individual is disturbed, and he's armed. To determine which way this is going to go.
For whatever reason, we've been lucky no one's been injured yet.
Yeah, but I don't think we need to be taking any more chances. If there's any indication that he's going to start shooting again, I think we should go ahead and give the green light to Anderson.
I agree.
Then, the moment of truth.
There he is. He's coming out.
Easy now, let's hope he's surrendering.
He began looking around, like he may have been looking for a target.
I don't see a weapon, but I don't like the way he's at. He's not responding to any instructions.
Show me your hand. Do it now. Show me your hand. Show me your hand. Do it now.
And then the shooter was looking looking specifically at us.
Anderson, you have the green line. Good to go.
He starts to raise that gun. That is the last thing he ever did.
That moment where your head won't quite get around it, that you just saw this person die.
Stay where you are! Do not move!
As I watched the medics rush in to try to treat him, I wondered if we'd done everything we could to stop this from happening. But what we did.
Like Rusty Jocelyn. Joe's a dad. He's got 2 kids. I'll never forget Joe walking up and just looking at this guy. And he stood there for the longest time.
In my head, I was asking him, why did you do this? Why couldn't we have talked about this? But we had to take your life, Rusty. And I'm sorry we did. You left us no choice.
Joe is a really strong and resolute guy. And it's the only time in all the years that we were working together that I ever remember him just looking that sad.
With Rusty Joslin the victim of an officer-involved shooting, the case is now a homicide investigation.
Sir, I just think you should know he reeked of alcohol. Thank you. Yes, sir.
We have 2 things to do. We have to determine, is this killing justified, use of deadly force? And secondarily, we will try to determine as best we can why this event took place.
But because of the unique circumstances, the district attorney's office will take the lead on this investigation.
Thank you for coming in. Please have a seat.
Lieutenant Kenda pairs up with Chief Investigator
I'm Jocelyn.
Larry Martin.
Nice to meet you.
After tracking down Rusty's wife, they are tasked with a gut-wrenching notification.
None of this makes any sense.
She had been advised that there was a standoff going on at her house with Rusty. She had not been notified that Rusty had been shot.
Rusty would never shoot anyone.
He did own multiple guns.
Well, yes, he's a hunter. He takes a lot of pride in it. He's a top-notch marksman.
Really?
Here was this guy who was a really good shot. And in the end, didn't wind up even hurting anyone.
Has anything happened in your husband's life that might have upset him?
Well, yes, we had some money problems a while back.
The wife informs us that a few years ago, Rusty had a business where he had a partner, and that partnership ended badly.
It really crushed Rusty. To the point that he tried to kill himself. But a doctor put him on antidepressants, and he'd been feeling so well lately, he stopped taking them. Is Rusty okay?
I'm afraid not. He was shot and killed today. I'm very sorry.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
The mere... You never, ever get over circumstances like this. There's a hole in your heart that doesn't heal.
Kenda and Martin return to Rusty's home, where a search has turned up some surprising evidence.
Hey, check this out.
We found numerous vials, medicine pill bottles, and one of them happens to be one that's a known antipsychotic medicine. His wife said he was being treated for depression.
Yeah, he was off those medications. Things were happening in his mind and he had no control over it.
You know, I was there when they took him to the hospital. He reeked of booze.
He's depressed, psychotic, and drinking. I mean, it explains a lot.
Sure does.
As detectives gather information, a picture forms of how the day may have unfolded from Rusty's perspective.
You too.
One, got two.
According to people we interviewed, Rusty did go to work as usual. The only place he stopped was to drop his 2 kids at daycare.
Be good today? Love you.
After saying goodbye to his children, Rusty proceeded to work. But perhaps that's where the mental illness he had been struggling with took control.
Rusty looked awful and said he did not feel well and he had to go home.
At some point, he's home and possibly drinking, and the fact that he's no longer on medication. There's some adverse effects.
This is a dream.
He's having a psychotic episode. He is out of contact with reality.
We know from his wife that he had a suicide attempt in the past. We also learned from the wife that he was a good marksman. It's quite possible that he was deliberately missing.
Better call for backup.
He wanted us to believe that he was a real danger. So that he could ultimately get shot.
Drop your gun. Do it now.
Suicide by police, that does happen. Did it happen this time? We have no way of knowing.
After careful review, the DA's office wraps up their investigation into the shooting by Officer Anderson.
I didn't want to shoot, but based on his actions earlier in the day, I thought somebody would be killed.
I understand.
I felt at that time that Officer Anderson was justified in the shooting of Rusty Joslin.
I just wish there was some way we could have prevented this before it happened.
I understand. Thank you.
Everybody tried so hard. The police really did. And boy, the best intentions of mice and men oft go astray.
The nature of this business is you may be called upon to do the most horrible things you can imagine and to see the inhumanity of humanity. I saw entirely too much of it.
Coming up, when an elderly man is brutally killed, Kenda discovers he shares an unusual trait with the perpetrator.
I'm well aware that only 10% of the world have this thing. This is very important. This particular thing, I'm in the morgue. Not a fun place to be in the dark, but that's where I was.
So, death by asphyxiation.
We had a report of a suicide, and I always want to look at the body to confirm there's no hypodermic marks, stab wounds, gunshot, whatever. And I was getting ready to leave when
I use your phone? Sure, go ahead.
The rate of death in any jurisdiction is cyclical. You have slow periods where nothing happens.
This Kenda.
Then you have 5 or 6 dead bodies.
Okay.
In a matter of 3 days.
All right, I got it. Thanks.
Busy not, Joe?
Yeah, sounds like someone got stabbed to death.
You got the address?
It's over on. How you doing?
Hey, Lieutenant.
So we got.
It's pretty ugly in there.
The victim is identified as 73-year-old Luke Warren, who lives alone.
He was known as a guy who was pretty quiet but went to church, liked to play music.
The 911 caller was his son Earl and his girlfriend. When they got here, they said they found him stabbed. But the interesting thing is when EMS got here, the body was still warm.
Huh. I'm always interested in who finds the body. Always. How do you know there's a body here to be found?
And we also found a spot of blood on Earl's sleeve, so we took him and his girlfriend down to the station for questioning.
See what inside?
I went and looked at the body. There is a knife in his lower spine, all the way to the handle. In addition, it looks as if he's punched or kicked in the face.
There was so much anger involved, you would think it were a crime of passion.
Kenda wonders, did Earl Warren stab his father in the back and then immediately call 911?
At this point, anything is possible. I want to know all the facts, and then we'll decide what might have happened here.
As Kenda observes the crime scene, the back door catches his eye.
Someone has literally kicked it at the lock assembly, causing the door to break. Someone comes to that door and kicks it in, makes entry, arms themselves with a kitchen knife.
Has Corner been in touch with you yet?
Yeah, he's on the way.
Great, let's go check out the rest of the house.
This is obviously the home of someone that has little or no financial means. There is a single bedroom, and it looks as if it's been involved in something. There is a pile of financial papers. I noticed on top of the first page a blood smear.
Somebody's looking for something.
And most likely thing being searched for is money.
A short while later, Kenda checks in with the coroner.
Hey, Doc.
Hey, Lieutenant.
Is there anything you can tell me at this point?
Yeah, and it's quite significant.
Not often is the murder weapon still present at the scene. In this case, the angle of the knife gives you clues about who the perpetrator is.
We're looking for a left-handed suspect.
Great.
If you imagine the hands of a clock, the top of the knife was at 1 o'clock. The right-handed person would be kind of the opposite angle, 11 o'clock.
This is very important. I'm left-handed, and I'm well aware that only 10% of the world is left-handed. We've just eliminated 90% of the potential suspects.
So once the autopsy's conducted, we'll know a lot more.
Thank you. I'll stop by later.
Yes, sir.
I've examined this crime scene to my satisfaction. I want to talk to Earl Warren and his girlfriend, Lori.
Can you tell me about finding Luke? How did that transpire?
Earl and I went over to visit his father around 9. Luke's health is bad, so I was always checking up on him.
Dad?
Where is he?
Hey, Dad? Dad! Dad!
Do you think of anyone at all who would want to hurt him?
No, everyone loved Luke.
Well, I'm very sorry this happened. Please go.
Kenda believes Lori's innocent, but he's not yet certain about Earl.
Lori was kind of a convenient alibi for Earl. She can tell police we both arrived here together.
Have a seat, Earl. This shouldn't take too long.
So I sit Earl down. I want him to believe that at this point he's just a witness. I don't advise him of his rights. I don't have a reason to, not yet.
Thanks to the coroner, Kenda has a subtle trick up his sleeve to get to the heart of the matter.
It's an easy game to play with people. I said,
Instead of me asking you a bunch of questions and worrying about spelling mistakes and stuff, would you mind filling this out for me?
I hand him a witness field interrogation report. I then sit back and watch which hand he uses. I'm going to know in an instant if Earl is innocent or in the running for the Worst Son of the Year award. I'm looking at Earl Warren, a possible murderer of his father, Luke Warren. If he turns out to be left, he fills it out with his right hand. Earl Warren did not stab Luke Warren.
Here you go. Can you tell me about your dad?
He proceeds to explain he was a lifetime coal miner in the state of Kentucky.
And he had moved to Colorado, hoping that our beautiful fresh air would help with his breathing and medical problems.
But Earl explains Luke's health only got worse.
And his wish was to go back to Kentucky and be buried at home.
It was so important to him. He just wanted to die in peace. He saved every penny from his Social Security checks to the point where he couldn't even afford things like a phone.
And did he manage to put away much?
Not much. $1,200, $1,300.
Earl then says my father did not believe in banks. He always kept what money he had in his pocket.
Even the last time I saw him, he was still waving his money around.
How long ago was that?
About a week ago, me and Lori and her cousin Mark swung by his place on our way to a trip to Wyoming.
And this other guy, was he friends with your father as well?
Mark? I don't think so. I can see if he'll come by.
Maybe Mark knows some other people that Luke knows.
I appreciate that. Thanks for coming in. Again, I'm sorry about your dad.
With no other leads, Kenda heads to the morgue to see if the autopsy has turned up any clues.
So what we got so far?
Well, Lieutenant, this is why we do autopsies.
What do you mean?
The knife in Luke Warren's back, it's not what killed him. It was blunt force trauma through his sternum and into his heart. All his ribs were crushed, and that's what caused his death. And we examined the blood on the clothing. There's two different types. His own and probably your suspect's blood.
Our killer is hurt. He's left-handed with recent injury. We are narrowing the picture of who this person is.
As he inches forward in his investigation, Kenda returns to the station for his interview with Mark Struthers.
Thanks for coming in. Thank you.
Yeah, I was shocked when I heard what happened to Earl's dad.
Yeah, I understand that you saw Luke with Earl and Lori. I was hoping you'd help us out with that.
Sure, yeah. You have a drink or something? My throat's pretty dry.
Sure, hang on a second.
So I went and got one.
Thank you.
He takes it with his left hand. Interesting.
Much better. So, what kind of questions can I answer for you?
Why don't you roll up your sleeve?
What?
Your left sleeve, roll it up.
And I see a bandage wrapped around his arm.
That's one night. So while I was filling up, these two black guys, they jumped me.
And they took my money and they cut me.
Did you report to the police?
No.
Because that's not what happened.
He's getting really nervous. And I said, let me tell you something. You're in any gas station. Nobody attacked you. You got hurt when you attacked Luke Warren for his money.
Stand up. Let's go.
In an effort to turn up the heat, Kenda moves Mark into an interrogation room.
I don't know what to say.
Would it be easier for you if you wrote it down?
Maybe.
I'll give you some time.
We give him a pad, and we go out and close the door. This allows him to be alone with his thoughts.
30 minutes later, Kenda returns to read what Mark has written.
He begins by saying that Luke Warren had promised that he would loan him $1,000 to buy a truck. He went over to see Luke Warren the night of the murder to borrow the money, and Luke Warren changed his mind. He said Luke grabbed a kitchen knife and attacked him.
But Mark claims he killed Luke Warren in self-defense.
Hey, listen, Mark, I'm gonna need to ask you a few questions about what you wrote.
Okay, but I want a lawyer.
Well, you're gonna need one. You're under arrest for first-degree murder. Stand up, put your hands around your bag.
Based on the physical evidence, Kenda has a good idea of what really transpired that night.
Mr. Warren! It's possible that Luke Warren may have promised Mark a loan.
Mark, I came to get my money. I told you I changed my mind. I ain't giving you no money.
I believe that Mark came to the back door and was refused entry.
Get lost.
Mark's not going to take no for an answer. He wants to go get this money. So what's he going to do?
What the hell are you doing? I came for my money, Luke.
This causes Luke Warren to arm himself with a large kitchen knife. And when Mark sees that blade, he becomes enraged. In the course of taking the knife away, gets cut. Mark knocks him down. And then proceeds to kick him in the chest, in the stomach, and the head. He reaches over his back. He searched the premises. The money is taken, and it is gone. It is murder and robbery, and we can prove it.
Mark Struthers pleads guilty to second-degree murder and is sentenced to 24 years in prison.
We never found the $1,300. It's gone. It's in the wind.
All this guy wants to do is go back to Kentucky and be buried at home. He's almost got the money saved to do it. And what a horrible end.
But in a stroke of fate, Earl Warren is able to save enough money to fulfill his father's wish.
So today, Luke's where he always wanted to be, buried in his old Kentucky home.
That's so sad and so sweet that Luke actually did make it back to Kentucky. It's almost a tragic Appalachian song.
A massive explosion rocks the city of Colorado Springs.
It was heard for miles and miles away.
Is this what's going on here in Colorado Springs? But terrorist attack?
Is this just the first in a wave of potentially deadly detonations?
They found 104 sticks of dynamite under the railroad bridge.
Were they going to blow up the train?
Lieutenant Joe Kenda is on a desperate search to uncover the truth before disaster strikes again.
How dare you?
A bomber is probably the most dangerous criminal. He doesn't care who he kills. Anytime you decide to take a course of action that your heart tells you is wrong, listen to your heart. Don't do something that you would be sorry for the rest of your life. There's one thing that never changes: murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories. I never know where a case is going to lead, but I'll never stop until it's solved. Somebody has to look out for the victim. If you kill, I will find you.
Things are quieting down for the night in the west side neighborhood of Old Colorado City. In a house on North 24th Street, David Hughes and his son are settling in for the night.
Dave Hughes and his son are at home.
Can I watch the show, Dad? Please, I want to record it.
There's a rock concert getting ready to come on TV. His son's pretty excited.
Not into rock music.
My wife and I are very much into classical music.
All right, simmer down now. We can watch it.
Yes!
So they were just listening to music and enjoying the evening when all of a sudden...
Whoa, cool!
When the huge explosion took place, at first he thought it was part of the concert, but it was a very big explosion, and I could tell it was.
Stay here. I'll be right back.
From a distance, David Hughes sees the smoke and wreckage left by the blast.
The explosion blew out the wall of the bank. There was damage done to at least one car. This wasn't an accident in any manner, shape, or form.
Across town, a young homicide detective is paying his dues, working the night shift.
PM to 2 a.m. shift that nobody really wanted.
With laptop. It's Kenda.
The dispatcher called me and said the fire department was on the scene of an explosion at an FDIC-protected bank.
Typically, a homicide unit wouldn't be called to a bank explosion, but there was information obtained that there might be a night janitor working at the bank at the time who was unaccounted for.
People believed that they were going to find human remains under the rubble.
Okay, I'm on the way. Wake up, Tony. Looks like we got something.
Okay.
When we got to the scene, barricades had been set up by the police department to keep onlookers away from explosive remains. It's an enormous hole. You could walk through this hole. So is this a bank robbery and the method of entry is an explosive? The damage to the exterior wall would indicate someone is gaining entry into this place.
It was almost like a movie scene where somebody wants to rob that bank and they're going to bomb the building to get inside.
How you doing? You know if these guys got into the vault?
Not yet. Law Squad hadn't reported back yet.
Let's take a look.
Yes, sir.
There's a massive effort underway to find physical evidence, and they literally sift, leaving things behind on top of the screen that can be examined.
You're sifting to find out exactly how the bomb was made, possibly what type of components were used, and even maybe what type of explosive was used.
Gentlemen? You know if there's any victims yet?
Not yet. The branch manager said the custody works every other weekend. Doesn't know if he's working this weekend or not.
Talk to the bank manager, get the custodian's home address. We'll send someone over. Maybe he made it home before this thing went off.
Yes, sir.
While the other officers try and track down the missing janitor, Kenda moves in to learn more about the explosion.
You smell that?
There was a very acrid chemical smell, in fact, even irritating to your eyes.
It's dynamite. Nothing else in the world smells like that.
They could immediately tell from the odor in the air that this was a commercial explosive, i.e. dynamite. Military ordnance has a different odor.
So it wasn't stolen from Fort Peterson or Fort Carson?
Definitely not.
Well, that's certainly helpful. I'm sure there's no shortage of that stuff in town.
There are many places that utilize explosives in routine work. The mining industry is the most common example, particularly in Colorado, where there's hard rock mines still active to this day.
Any idea where it came from?
Can't be for sure just yet. This.
Those guys discover fragments of a timing device. When the minute hand strikes, it causes an electrical impulse to go to a plastic cap and kaboom. The only reason for a timing device is to allow escape for the bomber. This is someone who really understands explosives and how to use them.
You need to know a little bit about explosives to detonate a bomb. Amateur bombers end up blowing themselves up.
This limits the pool of potential suspects dramatically.
Anything else?
Yeah, a bit of bad news. It appears the manufacturer of this didn't put serial numbers on.
So it can't be traced.
I'm afraid not.
Let's check out the bomb.
With the bomb squad's findings in hand, Kenda heads to the vault to see what the thieves made off with.
Upon view of the interior of that bank, the bank safe vault door was absolutely intact and untouched.
I don't see a scratch on it.
I don't either.
As far as we can tell, the vault wasn't touched.
Maybe there wasn't time. What about the tellers? Were those drawers hit?
Let's go see. There's money right out in full view. Who wouldn't have grabbed that?
Well, either there wasn't enough time, or they're the worst robbers in history.
None of the registers have been tampered with. It didn't look like robbery was a motive.
Wait a minute. Maybe we're barking up the wrong tree.
If you're going to blow up a bank and you don't intend to rob it, what is the purpose of your effort?
One potential answer to that question sends chills down everyone's spine.
Back in the late 70s, there was some terrorism acts going on.
There were certainly incidents involving the use of explosives by terrorist groups. They were domestic in nature. They were relatively small. Their thing was anarchy and, capitalism is evil.
So you're wondering then, is this what's going on here in Colorado Springs? We're being attacked by a fanatical group that's out to bomb our national banks?
There's an awful lot of military around here. Colorado's trying to be a prime target for some of the political agenda.
We all started looking at each other like, what if this is just the first one?
At this point, the threat level is very high. If we're on.
CSPD sends emergency surveillance units to major landmarks in the city to keep watch throughout the night.
See radio? Yeah.
So we start checking calls for service in the general part of the city.
Dispatch, has there been any calls on the west side tonight?
Units are searching for 3 men who robbed a grocery store at gunpoint, 8 blocks northwest of your location.
8 blocks? Dispatch, what time was this robbery?
The panic button was triggered at 9:06 p.m.
That's 7 minutes after that.
Yeah.
10-4 Kenda out. I want you to stay here. I'll head to the grocery store.
Got it.
News of the nearby robbery shifts Kenda's attention away from the domestic terrorism theory and towards a more practical motive behind the bombing.
What if they decided to set off this bomb to draw the police to the bank location?
This could be a diversionary tactic so that these individuals could rob the store and not be worried about an immediate police presence.
If that is true, it absolutely worked. Because every police officer on the west side was at that bank. Is this just a coincidence? I don't believe in coincidences. We're investigating a bank bombing, which initially we think could be a robbery or even a case of domestic terrorism. Then we discover there's been a major robbery a few blocks away within minutes of the explosion. Could this explosion just be a diversion for the armed robbery?
Determined to find out if the two crimes are linked, Kenda heads to the grocery store that was the target of the robbery.
Is there anything else you need to tell me?
Not that I can think of.
Thanks, Brian. Yes, sir. Can you tell me exactly what happened?
There were these 2 guys. They both had Halloween masks on. Good evening. How are you today?
Doing great, how are you?
Very well. Is that everything for you today?
Everybody get the get down! Get down!
Grocery stores in 1978 commonly received a great deal of cash from customers, much more so than they do today.
Get the head down!
Because credit cards were not in common use. So they present a tempting target to somebody with a gun who wants to demand money.
Let's get out of here.
They fire no shots. They're not there to hurt anybody. They're there to get the money. And they immediately run out of the business.
Am I going to lose my job over this? I can't afford to lose this job.
It's okay. No one's going to fire you.
Okay.
You're not the first one this has happened to. Did you happen to look at the car they were driving?
They weren't in a car. They ran off on foot. That way.
We need to get some guys out there right now before they get too far.
We're already on it.
Thank you. Sorry this happened.
Already picked up the robber's trail.
as investigators follow the footprints,
Damn it!
they actually end up walking right into the creek. Now, this is not a very deep creek, so it was obvious that whoever had left these footprints probably entered the creek, came out the other side, Highway 24. It would have been easy to have a getaway vehicle parked right there, and that's probably what happened.
Yeah, this is Thompson. We found the footprint, but we lost them.
Temple, Thompson, make sure you check in with headquarters before you leave the area. No sign detected.
I'm gonna head back to the bank. Thank you.
We find no one. And in addition, the clerk is of little use in terms of his witness information. This work can be very frustrating. Most of the time, nothing works out. Particularly it's the middle of the night, you're tired, you want to go home. But here we are. That's what we do for a living.
Back at the bank, Kenda receives some much-needed good news.
Just got word. They've located the custodian. We can now confirm that there were no casualties in that explosion.
That's good, then.
That's not the only positive development. The FBI has joined CSPD in the investigation.
Hey, Joe. Hey. Good to see you again.
Likewise.
This is an FDIC-protected national bank. A crime against the bank is a federal offense. This is now a federal investigation. The special agent in charge of this particular case is a Sam Nuri.
What about the grocery store? Robbery there? A few minutes after this? I mean, what are the odds?
Yeah, I agree. We're also kicking around the idea that it might be the Mexican prison, like the Weather Underground. But it's been over 3 hours since the explosion. Nobody's gotten any calls.
The hallmark of a terrorist event is claim of responsibility. They'll contact the press in the middle of the night, so they get their message out there.
Is there anything I can do to help you guys out?
As a matter of fact, would you mind taking statements from all these rubberneckers? They might know something we don't.
Absolutely.
Back in 1978, the FBI had just a local field office here with a couple of agents. Because of their manpower shortage, they sometimes would request the assistance of, like the Colorado Springs Police Department.
So we see if there's anybody that saw a car, anybody that saw an individual running past, anyone that might have some knowledge of the explosion.
Did you happen to notice anything unusual? Any people, vehicles leaving the scene?
Well, I heard it. I think it was guys from out there.
From where?
There are always people wandering around loose who perhaps shouldn't be allowed to wander around loose, who want to tell you that they think.
Area 51? Roswell? Oh, they're not happy with us, man.
And you're standing there going, right, well, I didn't think about that.
We'll definitely look into that.
Be careful.
The trouble with opening the door to the general public is the general public tends to walk through it.
But not everyone the CSPD interviews offers up a half-baked conspiracy.
A guy by the name of Adam White, who advised that he had just been out for a walk that evening and actually saw somebody bending down next to the wall of the bank, but didn't think much of it.
And then, after like 10 minutes, the same guy came tearing past me. That's when I heard the bomb go off.
He said he put two and two together and said, that guy that ran by me is probably the guy who set that bomb.
Did you happen to get a good look at this guy?
Oh, yeah. He had a face you'd never forget.
Here is the magic bullet. Mr. Adam White saw this guy, passed him within 2 feet of him. We are ecstatic.
Do you mind coming down to the station talking to our sketch artist?
Police bring in a sketch artist, and over the next half hour, he works with Adam White to create a composite portrait of the suspect.
No, man. His eyes were bigger.
Bigger than that?
Like, big.
Okay.
You ask a witness, do you know a white male, 5'6", and weighs 145 pounds, and has a mustache? Well, yes, I know 14 guys like that. A drawing is much more effective.
Hey, detective. You might want to come look at this.
That's the joke, right? That's what he's describing.
This is a drawing of the strangest individual I've ever seen. How could anyone look like this? At this point in this investigation, we have discovered an eyewitness who has seen the bomber, and he has produced a drawing that can only be described as bizarre. I'm looking at this thinking we thought we had the witness of a lifetime. And look at this.
And I'm not sure exactly how to say this. How accurate is this sketch?
That's exactly what he looked like.
And you're sure?
That's the guy, man.
It looks like our suspect is somebody that just came out of a sci-fi movie.
There you go.
What the hell is that?
That, my friend, was your bomber.
I said, I think he's from Mars. What do you think? Maybe the first wingnut witness we came up with was right. He is from outer space.
Hey, Carl.
Yes, sir. On the upside, this drawing is so distinctive that if anyone has seen this suspect, they're going to remember it from this drawing.
You ever seen this guy before? I didn't really see anything.
We canvassed the neighborhood, but we come up empty. No one has seen our strange-looking person in our drawing on the night of the bank bombing or on any other night. Our drawing is comically worthless.
Unable to ID a possible suspect, Kenda and the feds regroup in the morning to plot a new course.
So we have a robbery, and we have an explosion.
We had a meeting with the FBI and our guys. We started kicking around ideas.
Your first thoughts are, this could be a group of guys that have robbed other stores. They're probably drug addicts or whatnot, need money. If this robbery was successful, they'll probably try again.
Well, my first post of investigations was in the robbery unit. And we usually found these guys that have some sort of a pattern. Because they're lazy.
You said that the clerk mentioned they were wearing Halloween masks, right?
Mm-hmm. If they found this to be successful, they may do this again and wear the same masks.
I think it's worth doing some digging around. See if there's been any similar robberies in the area.
We'll run it through Ribbon as soon as I get a chance.
Okay, guys. Let's get to work.
That afternoon, Kenda scours the Rimmon database for armed robberies with a similar MO.
Rimmon is Rocky Mountain Information Network, which gathers information from all the local law enforcement agencies and charts different types of crimes, what's going on.
It was computer-driven, even in 1978. This was state-of-the-art technology.
Well, that was easy.
We determined in a very short period of time, same guys, same Halloween masks, up and down the Front Range, robbing grocery stores in the same way.
This is Kenda. I think I might have found the guys at your grocery store.
What makes you so sure?
Same Halloween masks.
Same MO. So do these guys typically create a diversion?
Blow something up or whatever? Well, no, that's the one problem.
The striking fact is, there was no diversionary incident in any one of those other robberies. No explosion, no car fire, no other event of any kind. That, to us, was significant.
So you're thinking these guys who did the robbery are not the same guys who robbed the bank?
Strange to me sound, yes.
So even though we don't believe in coincidences, we may have encountered one here.
A few hours later, authorities in Denver confirm that the bank job and the grocery store heist were, in fact, unrelated.
You guys a little old for trick-or-treating?
Denver PD calls because they monitor Rimmon as well. And they say, hey, we got him.
You guys...
Everything.
Hey, Blake, didn't Colorado Springs send out a bulletin about masked guys bombing banks?
That's right. Can you tell me anything about the bank bombing?
All right.
The result says we're robbers. I don't think about that.
What's more, the explosion that demolished the west wall of the bank came from a bomb with a timed detonator, something only an expert could build.
They're a group of morons. They're not smart enough to organize a trip to the bathroom. They wouldn't know how to build a bomb if you give them the directions.
All right, I'll see you.
We report to Nuri that it's not them. Absolutely not them. He said, okay, well, that's out, but now we got another thing. Could you go over to this railroad trestle where we've got some guys?
Okay.
They found 104 sticks of dynamite.
Really?
In a container under the railroad bridge at this location. Wow, okay.
I'll head over there.
This added a new twist to the story. The fact that the bomb at the bank was dynamite, it just made the case stranger and stranger. Were they going to blow up the train?
So what do we got? Well, somebody walking by actually spotted it, called it in.
Just a box, though. There's no detonator.
So, dynamite on the railroad, is that ATF jurisdiction?
Yep, actually it is. They'll be here any minute.
We're all excited that maybe this is connected in some way.
But the ATF quickly determines this dynamite and the dynamite used at the bank are not the same.
Sticks of dynamite used in that explosion had nothing written on them, no emblems or any information. This dynamite had manufacturer's information printed on the sticks.
This explosive could not have been used in the bank robbery. Now, it's interesting that it's been abandoned under a railroad bridge, but be that as it may, it's not connected to the bank, and that's all we're concerned about at this point.
The ATF will be taking over the investigation into the cache of dynamite.
People steal dynamite from the army, from the mines, from wherever in the hopes of being able to sell it on the black market. The feds interrupted it in this case before the dynamite got into the wrong hands. But for our case, it was just another dead end.
With no leads, Kenda and the FBI are struggling to find a way forward. So instead, they go backward.
Okay, guys, this is what we know so far. Our robbery guys, there's no connection. The dynamite at the railroad doesn't match with our bomb. And our crazy bug-eyed guy, don't even get me started on that. This is where we're at, folks. I'm open to any suggestions.
Back to the original question.
We're sitting there staring at each other with blank looks on our faces, trying to decide what the motivation was for this, when it hit me.
I've got a thought. Hear me out on this.
The motivation has been staring us in the face the entire time. At this point in the investigation, we've been sort of tunnel visioned, but now we come up with a new theory.
Now hear me out on this. Nobody died in the explosion, right? Well, maybe that's not a coincidence. We've got a custodian that works every single night, except for one Saturday every 2 weeks. We've got a very careful bomber. Maybe he wasn't trying to hurt anyone. Maybe the bank was the intended target.
Our man has a motive, and the motive is revenge.
I think we need to start looking at people that feel they were wronged by the bank.
Now, who could that be? Banks always have a list of enemies because they're in the money business, and money makes emotions run high.
This could be a long list. I know a lot of people pissed off at their bank.
That's true. But we only need to find the one individual who's angry enough to blow up this bank. And Kenda, you and you guys up for a little more legwork?
Absolutely. Shredmans?
Yes.
Detective Joe Kenda.
Oh. Nice to meet you. Please.
So we speak to the bank manager, and he comes up with quite a few people, some of whom appear to be, on the surface, quite interesting.
Scott Andrews.
Who's that?
Well, he used to work for the bank.
He was a short-term teller at the bank who was fired for being inefficient and being sort of a difficult person for the other employees to get along with.
He actually had to be physically removed from the bank.
We're going to have to let you go.
Why?
Things just aren't working out the way that we'd hoped.
When the bank manager terminated him, he had an absolute tirade.
Son of a bitch. Screw you and everyone in this place.
Scott, calm down.
Calm down? You want me to calm down? Let's take this outside. I'll show you efficiency.
He was absolutely screaming at the manager, I'm going to get even with you. I'm going to get even with everybody in this bank.
And you think you'd be mad enough to do something like this?
To be honest with you, the way things ended, I wouldn't put anything past him.
So we immediately went to see him. He admits that he's extremely angry with this bank.
If I'm fired, this is the best I can do. Actually, I'm glad somebody blew that place up.
But it wasn't you.
Of course not.
Can you prove it?
Yeah, actually I can. We can go inside and talk to my manager. He'll tell you I was here.
Let's do that.
Scott Andrews' alibi.
Mr. Andrews was working the night shift where they do cleanup work and get ready for the next day's business in front of several coworkers.
With Scott Andrews cleared as a suspect, Kenda wonders. Perhaps the bomber wasn't a pissed-off employee, but a disgruntled customer.
Are there customers you can think of that might be capable of something like this?
Banks are sort of loved and hated by people. On the one hand, you go there to borrow money or to, have a savings account or whatever. But on the other hand, if you run into some financial problems and the bank comes after you, there could really be a lot of animosity.
Richard Jenkins.
Okay.
Got a loan from us for a boat. A big boat. Not long after, it was destroyed in a fire. Then he stopped paying on the loan.
Well, the bank called the note. We want the money. Mr. Jenkins said, I don't have the boat. Well, that's not our problem, Mr. Jenkins. You have the money. And we want you to repay. Well, I'm not going to do that.
Then he wrote us a letter.
What's it say?
That we are the devil's institution. And if he were that type of guy, and I quote, he would blow this place to smithereens.
Well, now, Mr. Jenkins, how interesting you would say that, because that's what somebody did.
Later that afternoon, Kenda and an FBI agent pay a surprise visit to Richard Jenkins.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes. Now, this bombing is all over the news. So, Mr. Jenkins has a knowing look on his face.
This has something to do with the bank bombing, right?
Correct.
And the letter I wrote to the bank?
Correct again.
I said, before you say anything else, we'd like to advise you of your rights.
Do you understand these rights I've spoken to you?
Yes.
And now you're willing to talk to us about the letter?
Yes.
He was very cooperative, almost as if he was resigned to being talked to. Initially, that kind of piqued our interest.
Okay.
Listen, when I wrote that letter, I was just blowing out some steam.
Some pretty strong words.
You don't understand. They're threatening to take my house away. They claimed I owed money on some boat I didn't even have anymore.
He still doesn't understand. He believes because the boat is gone, the loan is gone. He doesn't get it.
You understand how this looks, don't you, Richard?
Look, I wasn't anywhere near the bank when it blew up. I was having drinks with my wife at this bar we go to. Everyone there knows me. They'll tell you.
He gave us a lot of information, the waiter's name, the bartender's name. So we'd make phone calls to verify the story and it checks out. Mr. Jenkins, we confirm, is in fact in this restaurant bar with his wife, talking to the bartender, with the waiter, and so well past the time this bombing took place.
Well, Mr. Jenkins, sorry to bother you.
As promising as Mr. Jenkins was, he becomes another wisp of smoke. We recommend that you do it, Mr. Jenkins. Have a pleasant afternoon.
Treading water once again, Kenda and the bank manager decide to go through each complaint with a fine-toothed comb.
Some have a beef with the bank and they don't like the bank, but they don't have the means to necessarily build a bomb and blow it up.
Again, we're talking about a sophisticated device. We're looking not just for some irate guy. He's an irate guy that knows what he's doing.
A name pops up. Victor Shea.
Take a look at this guy.
Victor is an individual whose 19-year-old son's truck had been repossessed by the bank, and he was very displeased with that.
There's a letter from the repossession agency we sent to see the truck.
The note said they went to Mr. Shea's home to seize the car. Mr. Shea engaged in a violent verbal confrontation, and they left the area and did not repossess this truck at that time.
You guys sure bring out the best in people.
Sometimes people don't feel like paying the money back that we loaned them.
Do you happen to have the employment information on Mr. Shea's son?
Looks like he works at the Colorado Mining Company. There's his auto loan application.
If you're mining anything in Colorado, you gotta blow things up. All of a sudden, this guy emerges as, whoa.
Do you mind if I use your phone? Sure.
Not only is he an angry guy, he is the very first angry bank guy that has access to anything that goes bang. Victor Shea works for a mining company in Cripple Creek, Colorado. They've been around for well over 100 years. They've bought enough explosives over that period of time to blow up the entire state of Colorado.
In the 1970s, mining companies didn't keep detailed records about their stockpiles. Kenda knows it wouldn't be hard for an employee to make off with small amounts of explosives.
They maintain what is referred to as a quantity inventory, which in reality is pile looks as big today as it did yesterday. They don't pay any attention to it.
So an employee of a company who uses explosives knows what explosives are used, how much is used any particular day. He could steal 2 or 3 sticks at a time and not worried about being caught.
But it's not just Victor Shea's access to explosives that makes him the prime suspect. It's his recent run-in with the bank that was blown up.
If you find someone who is upset with the bank, works for a mining company, you sort of put 2 and 2 together.
Piecing this on.
This was a truck that had been purchased by Johnny Shea, who is Victor Shea's son, with a loan he had gotten from the bank, and he had stopped making payments on the loan, and therefore the repossession company was instructed to go recover the truck.
Oh, yeah. I remember. One of the most uncomfortable situations I've ever been in.
We understand some sort of problem?
Yeah, there was. First of all, this kid Johnny, he lived with his parents. The bank sent me out to their place to repossess his truck. Gotten a little behind on the payments. I was about to learn why.
According to the repo man, when he showed up at the house, Johnny's truck was out front. But so were a lot of other cars.
There's all these cars. Looked like some kind of a party going on. So I get out and I go up and I knock on the door.
He doesn't like to just take a car off someone's property without them understanding what's happening. And a woman answers the door.
Yes?
Excuse me, ma'am. I'm here to take possession of a truck owned by Johnny Shea. Apparently he's gotten a little delinquent with the payments he had on the auto loan with the bank.
What the repossession employee had no way of knowing, Johnny Shea had been killed in a motor vehicle accident where he was a passenger. The family was having a wake in the house when the repossession man knocked on the door.
Ma'am?
How dare you?
You could not select worst moment in time to attempt a repossession of the deceased's property.
I just stood there in shock and she just lit into me. And then the dad, Victor, he came to the door and he started yelling at me too.
Mr. Shea confronted the agent and told him to get off his property. He wasn't going to repossess anything.
I got out of there. I didn't take the truck or nothing. Our company sent some other guy, maybe a week later, to pick it up.
Can you imagine how awful that would be? Here you are dealing with your son's death. It's like, have some compassion.
Shea was not happy with the fact that it was actually repoed, called the bank and raised all kinds of cane with the bank. That how could they do that, and why would they come to his house and take his son's truck like they did? You can understand his displeasure with the bank over what happened.
Later that day, Kenda and lead FBI agent Sam Norrie head over to the Shea residence.
Our hope is we can get Victor Shea to confess. If he will just tell us what he did, we can put this whole case to bed.
But they're about to get more than they bargained for.
When he answered the door, we just stared at him. We couldn't say a word.
Can I help you?
He was that drawing.
Hello?
All this while...
Oh, yeah. We're with the FBI and the CSPD. We just speak with you about an incident that occurred at your bank recently.
He immediately dropped his head and said, I knew you'd be coming for me. Well, okay.
What's going on?
Honey, it's... Victor, why don't you say your goodbyes to your wife?
Wait, goodbye? What did you do?
We allowed him to say goodbye to his wife. We explained to her that the FBI has jurisdiction, that he'll be arraigned in front of a federal judge, and the agents will remain in contact with her to tell her the process.
No.
It was a horrible thing all the way around. No one really wanted to be a part of this.
I'm very sorry.
We didn't handcuff him or anything. We didn't think it was necessary. And the FBI put him in their car, and we never saw him again.
What you did was wrong, but every one of us here feels for you.
There is no greater pain than the loss of a loved one. That pain can only be increased by the fact of you having to bury a child. They're supposed to bury you, not the other way around.
Are you sure you don't want to make a statement?
I'm gonna need a lawyer.
All right, Victor. Have it your way.
The FBI informed me that they tried to interrogate him, and he remained silent. The truth be known, I'm sure that the repossession guy showing up took the sadness and pain away from him and directed it into white-hot rage against the bank. I am certain that he assumed the bank knew exactly what was going on in his house, which they did not, and he therefore believed that they deserved what they were going to get. Revenge is as old as time. When people feel wronged, they want to feel right. You've given them pain. They would like to return the favor. He thought blowing up their bank and costing them many, many thousands of dollars would draw the chalkboard even somehow.
When he decided that he was going to blow up the bank, he knew that he couldn't be taking a large amount of dynamite out of his workplace all at once. So he methodically took a couple of sticks at a time until he got enough to do the job.
He constructed a device, knew how to do it. He'd routinely been around people that did it for a living.
Mr. Shea went to the bank at about 9 o'clock. Went to the west wall and set that bomb up. And set the timer.
And within a few minutes, kaboom. He blows it up on a weekend when they're not open for business, when there's nobody in the building. It only damages the bank. He remained in his house undetected for some period of time while we investigated this case. But people get found, and people are brought to justice. It's the way the system works.
What Victor Shea did was deplorable. You know, you can't take your revenge out in a manner such as this. Thank goodness nobody was hurt.
This case has several motivators. Love, hate, feeling of loss, demanding revenge. What Mr. Shea got for his trouble was a sentence in a prison and a convicted felony that's going to follow him for the rest of his days. Did it do anything to the bank? The bank is insured. The only person harmed was him.
A deputy sheriff is ambushed in the dead of night.
It's one of the oddest cases I've ever seen.
This guy needs to be found immediately.
He's to find his killer.
Might be a warrant every police officer.
Lead to an ominous manifesto.
Do not hesitate to anybody that get away.
And a deadly shout.
Humans can do very evil things. Police all put ourselves at risk every day. That's why I never left my house without telling my wife I loved her. I might never get another chance. There's one thing that never changes. Murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are my stories. I never know where a case is going to lead, but never stop until solved. Somebody's to look out for the victim. If you kill, we'll find you.
Majestic Peak. Nestles Valley to the east of the city of Colorado Springs. Perched along its western slope is Tellerty.
This whole county, in comparison to the rest of the keys in Colorado, it's a very tight rural community primarily.
The of us live up there year-round, and there's a whole bunch more vacation homes.
On this crisp fall morning, Teller County Undersheriff Dick Geisen is headed to work when his radio crackles to life.
This is dispatch to K-19. This is dispatch to K-19. Can you hear me?
Geisen realized the code name belonged to one of his deputies.
K-19, sleep on.
This is Sheriff Geisen. What's going on?
We're having reaching K-9 Deputy Holloway.
There was a fire scene with some suspicion it might be a suspicious fire. A devastation there to go scene overnight event that it was anything other than a normal fire.
We haven't heard from him 6 a.m.
Normally, we leave a deputy in hours, but he had done so in the hours.
Copy that. I'm not that way. I'll swing by and check on over.
So I went out to the scene. There's a car parked there. Same situation, he was kind of leaned over. It could have possible that he'd dozed off.
Hey, Deputy. Holloway calls out, is puzzled about why he's not responding.
Brent!
way you can prepare yourself to walk up something like that. It was a grisly scene. I checked whether he was alive or not. It was obvious that he wasn't.
Dispatch. I've got an officer down. K-18 is down. K-19 is...
With all, but you don't figure walking up one of your own deputies and fighting like that.
We're gonna need some serious help up here. Dispatch, get in touch El Paso County.
Meanwhile, in Colorado Springs, at the El Paso County A's office, Chief Investigator Martin is just his day.
Martin, it was early Monday morning. Received a telephone call to a dispatcher.
Officer-related shooting.
Here?
No, Taylor County. Undersheriff at the scene requesting your help.
Okay, what is? Taylor County has a small sheriff's department. When a major crime would occur, would typically call the attorneys investigate out for assistance. Okay, thanks, sir.
Martin extremely experienced with enormously complicated cases, including officer involvement. They couldn't have been better men.
Hey, thanks for coming, Larry. Exactly what happened. Deputy Bowers, young man all the way. Yeah, a gunshot wound to the head.
Deputy Brett was about a 2-year veteran of the department. Law enforcement was to be his lifelong career. He was one of the very nicest officers that we had in our department at that time.
Brett was a young officer, just loved his job, loved enforcement. His wife was a nurse. He was happy with what he was doing.
Any idea what he was doing here? Yes, cabin burned last night.
This fire occurred at 1 o'clock in the morning. He was in the area, smelled smoke, saw a glow in the dark, and went to Teller County Fire Department. They thought it was just they missed Holloway saying to protect the potential evidence until it returned as light.
Did he shoot? Is it possible? Actually, otherwise? To be honest, really don't see a whole lot of them here.
There's not a lot of crime in Teller County, so it was suspected that maybe he had committed suicide.
Martin and Geisen turn to the scene itself for answers.
What do you think? It's awful large to be a handgun.
The wound looked like it had been made by a large caliber wound.
Service bit's not in his holster. I don't see it beside me.
There's only one conclusion to be drawn. Murder.
See, he must have been through the window this way.
They also discover that's in the ashtray he is smoking as the window down. The smoke leave the vehicle.
It was obvious that Deputy Halp never knew the assailant had stopped running.
The shooters likely fired into the officer's face from very close. Is the possible motive here? Now they have no way.
I realized that we need to get a lab team up here to investigate the scene. Teller County didn't have their own because of the size of the department.
40 years. For him to be coming me that early is extremely odd.
What's going on? Is everything okay?
Receiving the news an officer killed line of duty is punching us. It's startling. It's one of us.
Maybe you can send some guys out here. Be great. We just don't have the resources to do what we need to do.
My immediate mental area was, whatever you need, I will provide.
Pick up dispatch.
As Kenda orders forensics team to scene in Teller County, word of Deb Holloway's death makes its way to other enforcement agencies in the area.
We had a lot of local support from the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, Springs Police Department, and from all the federal agencies. Everyone was there.
When a police officer has been killed in the line of duty, they will respond by whatever means is necessary to include our agency if required. We protect our own.
Around 9:15, Kent team arrives at the scene. As they begin processing Deputy Holloway's cruiser, Larry Martin devises a plan to track down the shooter.
All right, folks, we're looking for anything unusual. We believe the son of a bitch is still in the area, so we want to use extreme caution because he's probably armed as well.
A very large area to be concerned here. So I need to know that they are working together to help search all these evidences, even the woods, to see if maybe a suspect is hiding somewhere.
Thank you so much, man.
Over the next hours, the officers canvass the area.
This is a remote mountain covered in trees and underbrush. It is rough. It's very, very rural. And there are any number of places where someone could conceal themselves in these woods.
They wanted every home cleared and every vehicle looked into. Any place that the suspect could be hiding wanted searched.
Unfortunately, the circles no evidence leaded to the shooting. Larry Martin has a nagging feeling.
More and more as this issue goes on, I'm of the opinion that this scene, the death of Brett Holloway, connected somehow.
Is it in fact an arson? Arsonists often to admire their work. Perhaps he'd returned and is afraid that Deputy Holloway might have seen him.
So I called my investigator Lynn Chan.
When I got there, there's much to see. A business called a black hole. The top floor completely burned and collapsed into the lower of the heaven. Upon my preliminary scene investigation, we couldn't find anything that was obvious an accident.
One major concerns as an investigator is that the owner has ignored the property to cover the interest value. Is this a insurance fraud case? Is it possible that the owner decide it's necessary to kill the officer to prevent the discovery of that? When the homeowner arrived on this, he was very angry.
No! Let's go to our vacation home. We're sunk! So how have you opened?
But as they talked to him, possibility of fraud.
Though the cabinet has been eliminated as a suspect, investigators get wind of another person of interest.
One of my investigators first came to me.
Sir, so we across something kind of interesting.
He had been interviewing with the volunteer men. He learned Holloway had some work to an environment by the name of Walt Mercer.
He says they became enemy over some incident occurred at a fire.
Well, is that enough to somebody? I don't know.
Mercer was actually last night fighting a fire.
Walt Mercer knew that Deputy Holloway was dispatched to guard that scene.
It's possible that after everyone left, Murray returned, took his revenge on his enemy. These have a tendency to simmer until explode in 2 minutes. We are investigating the Teller County Sheriff's deputy shot to death while guarding the scene of an arson fire.
Investigators have been for clues at this spot in Teller County. It burned down Monday morning.
Martin is in charge of this investigation. He has finally determined there's a possibility of a suspect and a volunteer from a named Walt Mercer.
Mr. Mercer, thank you for coming in to speak with us. Them come in for an interview about the argument he had with Brett Holloway. Tell me exactly what the beef you had with Deputy Holloway.
Are you talking about the emergency thing? That was nothing.
Walt Mercer told that it had to do with Flight for Life helicopter in on a call, and whether that call she made or not.
I mean, things got a little bit heated, but that's it.
Mercer said they had gotten past it. It was just an argument that was eventually resolved.
Disagreement about the helicopter was a one-time. We got for it. We were joking together last night. Went out this morning that was dead. I still can't believe it.
Sir reports that at the fire, the woman went to bed and never returned to the scene.
Walter was very cooperative, but you still want to verify what he's telling you now. How do we do that? We'll talk to the Holloway's wife. She wouldn't know if there any problems with Mercer.
Before Martin and Sheriff Geisen interview Brent Holloway's wife, they have gut-wrenching business to attend to.
Notifications are extremely difficult in any situation. They are somehow infinitely worse when it's a false comrade.
No.
Kill him.
I mean, it's okay.
Brett was shot last night. He didn't make it.
The loss, of course, was very, very deep to me. We're just so bonded together. I just thought we would always be married, would always be a couple. It's like a part of you is torn out.
This was a tough case because I knew Brett. Before Brett was murdered, he had our office talking about a cruise that him and wife were getting ready to go on. And he was really happy. And then it's good.
Ellie, Martin, for real, do what's right by your dad.
And we're very apologetic and said, I hate to do to you, but we still have to ask questions of you.
Can you think of anybody that would grant?
No. He got on with pretty much everyone.
What about Walter Mercer? We heard they had a fight about something.
No. Walter, no way. I mean, they had a few work disagreements once or twice, but they were very good friends. Mercer was a great friend. Him and his wife lived maybe 2 miles on the road from us. I know. Never hurt my husband.
She believes absolutely no way Mark could be involved in this. So Martin and his investigation now believe that Sir is no longer a suspect in this.
If you can think of anyone, just give me a shout.
That was the hardest times of my life. That knowing who would have done this.
It is a rare thing to have a victim as innocent and as well thought of as Brent Holloway. At least at this point. The likelihood is that death is connected to this fire and not for some personal issue involving Holly's past.
After speaking with Kellaway, Investigator Martin decided to expand the perimeter of the manhunt. Later that day, that move appears to pay off.
Hey, what's up? Talk to team members. Probably got some good information.
These gators tell them that they've contacted a resident who reported to them a car had been abandoned a short distance from the fire scene.
What about a driver? But she said as she drove by, she saw a male that she didn't know get out of the car and run the wood line. Come back. Apparently not. The car's still sitting where he parked. Go check it out. All right, follow me. First thing I observed that it's parked in a very strange area. There's no houses nearby, no business nearby. Really out of place. You run the plates? Sure did. The license comes back that it's rented to a Matthew Sherwood, who lives in Colorado Springs. Matter of fact, come back as being stolen. Really? We found out that this car had been reported to the Colorado Springs Police Department. We reached out distance. Yeah, Larry?
I've got abandoned vehicle acts registered to Sherwood, Colorado Springs. Send one of your guys to investigate. Matthew Sherwood.
Now becomes a significant find. Discovered a vehicle several hundred yards from an fire and a policeman. It's extremely likely that the person up in this vehicle is responsible for the fire and murder as well.
Absolutely, we'll get right on it. All right, perfect, thank you.
This guy needs to be found immediately. We had the murder of officer in Teller County. Now, investigators have discovered a stolen car in close proximity to the crime scene.
Kenda Stevens. Please look at Matthew Sherwood. He recently reported stolen, and we have believed that car was involved.
To the owner of the car, he's Colorado Springs.
As Kenda and team track down Matthew Sherwood, Martin's team begins searching the area where his car was discovered.
Hey, Wilson. Yeah, look at that. Investigators reported back to me that, yes, they had found something important. What you get?
They found 3 different mason jars containing what seems to be gasoline with a clock wick pushed through the lid of each container.
Molotov tales.
Basically, it's a homemade fire bomb.
At least we know what started the fire.
We're now certain that the stolen car we found was driven by the person who started the fire. Is it also possible they were the person that shot Deputy Holloway? My gut tells me yes, and I also believe that he's in the area, on foot, and can be found.
This guy's got to be out here.
When you have a killer on the list that has killed police officers, he's probably the most dangerous predator that there is. Do not hesitate to kill anybody that gives away. So, you don't have any rock unearned.
Back in Colorado Springs, Lieutenant Kenda's team makes contact with Matthew Wood, the owner of the abandoned car.
Want to ask you questions about the car?
Certainly. So exactly how long has it been missing?
About 2 weeks.
Matthew explains that while he filed a cursory report on his stolen car approximately 12 days earlier, he had the bizarre series of events that preceded.
He goes to bed around midnight, gets up at 7, and he goes to read his keys, and up there, he looks out the window and notices his car isn't there.
Adam?
He's somewhat founded by this.
Adam?
He's going to question his mate and realize that he's disappeared as well. The conclusion is obvious that the room picked up keys, took this.
I've seen my car or my since.
Okay. What can you tell us about it?
Matthew explains that his roommate is Adam Cooper, a 28-year-old construction worker.
Oh, that well. I met him at work a few weeks ago. You know, he's a cool guy.
Everything was fine until weeks ago, he said in his words, Adam started going down.
I feel like starting over. Like starting everything over.
What do you mean?
I think about him in California. Maybe you should come with me.
I can't. I've got a job. Come on now. Okay, you guys found my car in Teller County. Figured you'd take it all the way to California.
So did Adam make off with the other belongings?
Yeah, actually, I own a police car. It's missing. I think he swiped it.
This is back when anyone could buy one. People used to use them for entertainment to know what was gone.
The question is, why doing?
headquarters that follows up on new suspect.
The records check on Adam Cooper reveals he's been in for 5 years for burglary, recently released. But all of it, history, property crime, not gun crimes, not arson crimes.
Yeah, we pulled Cooper's file.
There's a very strong possibility that Adam Cooper is responsible for crime spree, or certainly knows it be. So it becomes even imperative that those involved in this can lay hands on the Cooper.
Lieutenant Kenda, investigator Martin know just what to do.
Great, I'll meet you there.
Who's the best person out there to help us find Adam Cooper? His mother. We talked to his mother.
Thankfully for us, Adam Cooper's mother lives in Florida Springs.
Have a seat. You'll have to forgive me, I haven't been feeling well lately.
Adam's mother is 52. She's diagnosed with cancer and chronic health problems, including stability issues.
We're here to talk about your son, Adam. Do you know where he's been?
I haven't seen Adam in a couple of weeks. What's this about?
Well, reason to believe that Adam was involved in the shooting of the police officer.
Oh,
She is almost emotionally overcome by that. Her son could be involved in such a crime.
guess I should be surprised, really.
What do you mean?
I had actually seen, I got a letter.
Yes.
Just so upset.
Really? Well, we know exactly what's in that letter. We're investigating the murder of Miller County Sheriff's Deputy. We've determined Adam Cooper is the mobile thief that recovered at the scene. We're in contact with his victim, and she was receiving a letter from him with some very disturbing content.
Charlie indicated he was pretty upset, depressed, with some things in the letter that scared her.
He's usually a pretty kid. It's just that his stepfather got divorced. He's in the same.
The mother is his left and financial straits, and she's able to deal with the expenses involving illness, and this distressed Adam to a maximum level.
In the letter, Charlie describes Adam as saying that he's so angry with stepfather, who has kind of left her high and dry. He's supposed to be getting alimony, he doesn't always send it.
I knew he was speaking with his stepfather for me in a large like this, but I realized he wants to kill me.
He said that?
His letter.
Adam indicated the plan was to kill his daughter, and thought was that the man would get his insurance, and that would her with her medical bills or not.
However, Adam's to exact revenge on his stepfather, one insurmountable obstacle.
His father works for a contractor on the island of Guam. Adam Cooper is a parolee. He cannot legally leave the country on his own identity.
It's just all to that father, his life insurance, and if he do that, then he'd have purpose in life.
You mean like suicide?
At this, I'm thinking Adam Cooper is the one involved in the murder of Dalloway.
You'll have this letter.
I do over here.
It was his.
It's a binder.
The content of the letter clearly demonstrates that Adam Cooper is becoming hinged.
But the letter still didn't explain to me why he would have brought Holloway.
As the sun sets at Pikes Peak, investigator decides to call the search until morning.
You can't search in the dark for an armed and dangerous individual unless you're subtle.
First, we get all of our people together and distribute photographs of Adam Cooper.
This here's a picture of him.
I put teams together. I want individuals searching for Adam Cooper alone.
I read like it was yesterday. Team 6, team.
Get the son of a bitch.
As the teams count their search, Martin receives word of an important element.
Go for it.
Kevin, we weren't able to reach that homeowner's our way. Could you meet her?
The way.
The first day of that search, they were unwilling to force entry and locked buildings. There was one particular cabin they had not yet, and that owner finally has arrived at the scene.
I saw it on the news. What's going on? Else okay?
Yeah, I think so. We've been looking around. We want to make sure he's okay. Now we're getting...
No, that's fine. It's good.
I'm thinking search our cabins, haven't come up with anything. Are we really come up with anything here?
They're about to clear this, and Martin notices a look on the owner's face.
What's up?
Somebody's been here.
We asked her how she knew this. She said, well, somebody's been eating food, and there's some clothes over that do not belong to you.
My husband and I have been here for almost a month. I think this
All of a sudden we heard a noise on the second floor.
And immediately radio have a possible suspect.
I want our closest units over here. Wait.
The first team that arrives, led by Detective Rocco of the Woodland Park Police Department.
I believe he's on the second floor. Remember, he'll be armed, okay? Okay, let's go.
These are trained officers. They're going to handle this as an entry team. Weapons will be pointed.
You guys ready? Yeah, ready.
Finger near the trigger. Everyone is on alert.
You guys ready?
Looked up the stairwell, it was probably like 3 feet wide, and I thought, wow, that's a dangerous situation right there.
They smell fresh cigarette smoke. Now they know somebody here.
There's doors at the top of the stairs. Open the door on the left. There's nothing in there. There's no furniture in there. It's an empty room.
With the first bedroom cleared, Officer Rocco is the second door.
All I had to do reach up and grab the doorknob. It was locked. I heard the sounds metal to a click click, which is distinctive. Police officer, every officer knows the sound.
There's no question that's the operating slide of a semi-auto pistol being tickled. Someone is playing a live round chamber and cutting the hammer.
When I hear that sound, I know that this guy means business.
The officers are prepared to engage a gun battle to the death. He's already killed one police officer. He's not afraid to do that. Those officers now know that they are in a life-death circumstance, and they're prepared to kiss the suspect out.
Police department, open up your hands.
I told him he was founded, and he wasn't going to leave that room unless he's surrendered.
And on the front porch, I should going on. I hear a gunshot. Immediately, oh my God, my guy's being shot at, or my guy's doing the shooting.
He observes a Caucasian male in his 20s sit in a bed, up, blood pouring out of his head from a gunshot wound to the mouth.
Let's call him an ambulance.
Sir, 47.
It's Adam Cooper. He shot himself.
Mr. Cooper had been threatening suicide to his mother, and he apparently decides it was the moment to cut out better than once.
He was responsive at all. Medical or done seen probably 5 minutes later, but
Martin sees the weapon on the bed is a Wesson 69mm, is the deputy Way's gun. There's a 12-gauge shotgun behind the door of the bedroom, and there's a police scanner on a table next to the bed.
Look at this.
But it's what police find next to the scanner that sends chills down their spine.
It's a check to local bank up to law enforcement in the amount to one dead officer, and it's signed by F.
Just when I saw that, actually writing out a check for the dead police officer, despicable.
You look at someone like Cooper, and every police officer in that room is probably thinking, is there any possible way we could kill him again?
Let's get him out of here.
Well, wow, is the way this investigation ends, I know that Adam is the person who took Brett Holloway's life. What I don't know is why.
Then, in an unexpected twist, Larry Martin unlocks the answer to that very question.
Crime scene investigators come in, and he had found a journal that apparently been writing over the last days.
The contents are absolutely startling.
According to Adam Cooper's journal, he broke into the camp 4 days ago.
He's completing suicide. At one point, he has the shotgun, which stolen in a birdie sometime before that. Can't get up the nerve to pull the trigger. When he's not able to pull this trigger, he talks about this monster of hate rising up inside. decided to redirect this monster of hate toward the judicial system. He blames the system for not forcing his father to pay the required alimony amounts.
His solution to this whole was kill as many as I can, and that's my own.
He decided to make Molotov cocktail bombs and start arson fire building. When the police arrive, he's going to pick them off one by one.
I believe he was using a police to hear when the officers were coming.
I don't believe it could have been done. That's originally called management.
But when he said fire, not only did police officers show up, lots and lots of volunteer firemen showed up. So there was too many people to do what he actually wanted to do.
According to a jury written later night, Adver heard something on the internet. Changed everything.
Listening to the officer and hears one particular officer who they referred on the radio as A-19. That is Brent Holloway call sign. As the units began clear, A-19 instructed to remain behind and guard the scene till daylight. Who now believes he had opportunity.
Brent was sitting there. He could sneak him behind us in the dark. Brent would never even coming up behind him.
Cooper, 60. After he killed the officer, Cooper explains in the diary is overwhelmed by guilt. He wondered about the officer's family, if his children. He rants on and on about the evil of what he done. As the diary draws to a close, he realizes discovered in this case. He hears officers quietly come up the stairs. He knows the end is up. He dies. He's killed himself. For the officers killed him.
I was very angry when I heard that he killed himself. And I could never forgive him for that. He should have stood down.
Brent was the first line of duty death for the Teller County Sheriff's Department.
Hundreds of officers, fan friends turned out Teller County, a tribute to a deputy sheriff killed in the line of duty.
500 they came to the top to pay those respects.
It's a small department, small police department, so we knew each other. We worked with each other daily, and it's just something you're never prepared for in any way, shape, or form.
Brent Holloway was just 27 years old. Friends describe him as a devoted husband, friend, and law enforcement officer.
We want to praise him, to remember him always. We need to tell you all about the beloved husband, son, brother, and friend that Brent was.
This is a tragic case. You have Deputy Brent Holloway dedicated his life taking care of his community and take his family. Wiped out by one deranged person.
We were all sweethearts. I think, even happily married now, I still think that we would have been happily married. There's always that question of what if? Would we still be in the same house and all the different adventures and things that we had missed out on? Where would we have gone next?